that wasn't placed on the agenda, so we will just, so Clay, do you want to facilitate?
Yeah.
And it'll be on the next agenda to do that nomination. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we won't do it at this meeting. We won't set a chair. I'll serve as a
It wasn't on the
facilitator.
agenda. You
Yeah.
shouldn't
Right.
do any business that wasn't on the
Right.
agenda.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we appreciate the 4 finance committee members coming together for this finance committee meeting on this February 28th evening at soon to be 6 p.m. here at the Tri-Valley Community Center in Healy. And our agenda has one kind of required that, the finance committee almost always works on the resolution or considers the resolution for the permanent fund allocation. We're going to do that tonight. That's on the agenda. And then we have a couple other things on there that we want to kind of talk about, and feel free to ask questions regarding. And then when we come to next meetings, you'll see that we have a recommendation of a next meeting that's not that far off, just about 5 weeks. And if there's any follow-up things that we could address at that time as well. So that kind of sets the tone, just general outlook. And so I guess I'll call it to order.
I think you did.
Okay, yeah, called to order this meeting. We have full attendance, and we'll go ahead and ask our Madam Clerk to call the roll.
Okay. Talon Shreve,
Here.
David Alexander,
Here.
Dominic Canelli,
Here.
Richard Hammond,
Here.
unanimous.
Kind of brings me back to when I did serve as the chair of the assembly for some time, but that was a long time ago. we don't run the meetings. So.
Out of practice.
I did enjoy it. All right, so yeah, we did roll call. Now we'll move into public comments, and we don't see anybody joining the Zoom to make comment, and we'll ask
Nobody
clerk if
online.
anybody's made comments regarding the finance committee agenda. Okay, and next we'll have asked for a motion to approve the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second. Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we've got an agenda. And then moving into business items, we have report on investment activity. And it was brought up that maybe I should provide just kind of a bit of an overview of not simply investment activity, which we will talk about, but also just how we're structured financially. We do have a couple newer members here, and know that we have a general fund and we have sub accounts, fund accounting, sub accounts of the general fund, and we also do have 2 enterprises and their funds, and those funds also have at least one sub account. Those enterprises are solid waste and land management. And then we have the permanent investment fund, which we're going to talk about this evening. So, sometimes when we look at an investment report, we might go, is this permanent investment fund or general fund? So we do have some investments in our general fund as well. And that's our general structure. And you as assembly members, you've been seeing our monthly financial reports. So for the report on investment activity, I'll let you know that in the general fund world, we have what we started calling a CD ladder. We started building it, about 8 years ago, we started building that CD ladder when we had a little extra money in that general fund. We'd go out and buy ourselves, an FDIC insured CD.
0.005%.
Typically, yeah. There were some times there in the past years where we had some in the point something coupon rate, right? And but the amount is always around like 250 because that's that FDIC insured
Right.
amount, right? And so things are looking up in that
Yeah,
world,
yeah.
right? We
Yeah.
are seeing maturities and rolling those into new, actually, treasuries that are, real, that are bringing in, 3 and now 4%.
Right.
So,
That's good. It's a big difference.
yeah. Yeah, and frankly, we're short on that ladder. We compressed that ladder through COVID for that time of financial uncertainty.
So less.
Actually, if we just one. If
Right there. Yeah.
This one right here?
yeah, that one. So this is the list of our holdings.
So you shorten up the maturities, which is serving us well right now when everything's going up.
Yeah, we
Because
got
we weren't caught and
we-
holding on. to the
holding a
crappy ones.
0.3, yeah. So that did work out pretty well.
Yeah.
Of course, it was more along the
wasn't the
lines of we
idea,
might
but
need this
still,
money.
yeah.
That's why we're going short.
Right.
But so on this spreadsheet on the right, fund, you'll see GF, general fund, and then PIF, permanent investment fund, or the black ones are general fund and the purple ones are permanent investment fund. And then we do have that solid waste CD as well. That is for our closure fund,
Try the 3 lines down.
which is a kind of a long-term need. So here are kind of on the fixed income side of things. We do have a broker, an investment advisor, who makes these purchases and advises on the best return that's out there in the market within our kind of target windows. And when these maturities come due, and look, a lot of them are coming due, right? We meet with him and we're going to be looking at building this ladder out in terms of duration. But we won't go real far.
0.25 and the 0.3, they're all point, yeah. So it's good.
Coming up,
Yeah.
right? Roll those into some 4.5s. Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be
real
good.
good.
So yeah, this part is, I'd say, looking up. Of course, on the equity side, there's been some hits. We'll look at that as we go too. So that's, I kind of want to talk about the general fund, but here we have the permanent fund there too. So should we move into permanent fund? And then that discussion will then roll into the application. I don't know that we're going to go through those statements. We do have both the general fund and the permanent investment fund, statements from the advisor. They're kind of maybe more in depth than we need to go into. Or would you like to? Would you like to see what the holdings are, especially in the permanent fund?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's because we just looked at the general fund, really.
Yeah.
This one right here.
Yeah.
and the investment fund.
Permanent
Yeah,
fund,
permanent
yep,
investment fund, yeah.
3.99, just south of 4 million. And yeah, Christopher Bateman is our investment professional there. And
Is that the Jersey City, New Jersey?
no, there's always over
I think corporate office.
the corporate office
Yeah.
has
I
been
know
in
where
several
that is.
places over time. But that's definitely not where Chris
Very Chris
is. So,
Want to scroll down?
yeah, let's look at our holdings. We've worked on this to get to this point, for a while. And so we're going to talk about allocation. And here you see that we're at that 58% of equities and mutual funds. And you'll see how they're pretty diverse between small, medium, and large cap. And then we've got that 42%, both in fixed income, CDs, treasuries, bonds, and 2% cash.
Tell me what you want to look at.
Let's get down into the holdings. So we just looked at some of these CD cash hold or fixed income holdings on that other
Right.
chart. So we got the CDs that will go down to the treasuries.
First National Bank of Kalamazoo.
What? Oh, yeah. Oh, where we get CDs from?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Or,
They're all
Whoever's
over.
up, yeah.
Whoever's giving the best rate.
yeah,
Oh, yeah. We've bought all sorts of different banks over time. Now let's look at our mutual funds in terms of our equity holdings. We did restructure this with the help support of the finance committee and our investment advisor at the time. It wasn't that long ago. Talon was on the committee at that time. Previously, we'd been with Morgan Stanley, and their
they were flexible.
their fees were impossible to determine,
Yeah.
and the holdings were so everywhere
Yeah.
that basically it looked like our advisor was trying to recreate the market in all these kind of convoluted ways.
Yeah.
And so we simplified, and we simplified in terms of fees. A known fee with a low cost index brokerage, and that's Vanguard.
Yeah.
We'd held the Vanguard 500, S&P 500 index fund for many years. That's our longest held position on this statement. Years ago, we bought that and have held it, and of course that's a great investment. And so yeah, we kind of cashed out of Morgan Stanley and bought more Vanguard, and kind of just went a little broader there with both small cap, mid cap, and our existing S&P large cap holding.
And did they start as always? I mean, the small cap and the mid cap one are about the same amounts. Was the 500 fund was just bigger always?
Yeah. Yep.
I can see what the unrealized gain loss that it's been in there for a while.
Yeah.
It's been there a long time. What's that unrealized gain on the S&P 500?
Yeah, it's 629.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's done us well.
Yeah, this is like a recommended thing for somebody nearing retirement, right? Like
It's
We're not-
60% stocks, 40% bonds.
yeah, we're not.
And all index funds. It's like exactly what mine was.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, and if your timeline horizon is about 5 years, this is very much a recommended allocation.
Reduce the fees.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Next,
Next.
what do you want?
Well, that was pretty much. No, I guess we do have a little more. Let's look at the long term of the permanent investment fund. Let's look at this guy. So these are the balances. And thank you, Allison, for putting these together. The permanent fund, over time, we started off with $1 million back in 93. I know that we made some, capitalization, so we had some additions of capital into the fund early on. We haven't for many years. And additionally, we can and do often take the 50% of the year's earnings income. That is the spendable portion of the permanent investment fund earnings. And every year those are determined in our financial statements, in our audited financial statements. That number is provided, and we usually do capture that
And add that to the general fund?
yes, we not only add it to the general fund, but specify which fund it goes into. Usually, our common practice is to help buttress one of our fund accounts that needs support, that maybe we did a capital project. Maybe we spent the capital project fund down by building, a transfer station. Let's use half the earnings and to recapitalize.
And
that fund.
I hope I can just ask questions, because I'm just,
That's good.
is the 50% of the earnings, is that like in
Charter.
Okay,
It's definitely in code. It's even in charter.
okay.
And
And it says it's either you can take up to 50%?
Yeah, up to,
Up
to.
because you can leave the rest in there just
Yeah.
to let it keep.
Yeah.
So I mean, if it was some year that we're like super flush, then we don't take anything out.
Yeah, that's where some of that.
good. That might be wise. One thing that we don't exactly have, it's certainly not in charter, is the long-term use of the fund. In code, we do say that we'll grow it to 5 times the current, I think it's
5 times our
5
current
times the
budget.
current budget.
Yeah.
Right now, which would be about 25 million.
Yeah,
We're at 4. And at that time, then we can decide how we're going to use it.
yeah, we can start taking 100% once we reach the 25 million mark or whatever our budget is at the time.
Could be a while.
Yeah.
real.
We have a conservative path upward.
It's not real
This
useful.
will happen next week,
Yeah.
Right. So,
unless we're all really.
if we want to address needs and and conduct projects, utilizing that 50% has been the chosen route.
The way I've seen it, this pretty much just keeps up with inflation. So we get the same 50% every year just from the trend that it's been doing.
Yeah, we do state in code, the primary goal of the investment shall be to preserve the principal and maintain purchasing power. The secondary goal of the investment is to grow the fund to an amount equal to 5 times any current borough budget, at which time the assembly shall review and may, by ordinance, restructure the management guidelines of the permanent investment fund. So that's what we got. And any questions about investments, whether they be permanent investment fund or general fund? And then we'll move into the discussion on the allocation resolution. But first just take a beat and take a second and see if anybody's got any questions or wants more information.
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right, so the next order of business on our agenda is the allocation ordinance. And for the committee's purposes, it's a resolution. Pardon me, that ordinance. It's a resolution on the other side too, on the assembly side. It's not an ordinance. I had this other ordinance up. So it's FC for Finance Committee, 2101, the Finance Committee's first resolution of the year. And that's the way the finance committee will formally act, is through a resolution. And thank you, Amber, for bringing that up. It states code. The code requires that we establish a plan for the allocation of the assets of the permanent investment fund each fiscal year. So we typically do it this time of the year as we're moving into budget season. And the plan for allocation set forth in this resolution are consistent with last year's and our existing structure. That 64-40 split equity, and the federally insured debt instruments, CDs, treasuries, bonds, and some leeway that errs on the conservative side, as we're right now, 58 equity and 42 call it bonds.
So I'm noticing a typo here. It says permanent investment fund for the period ending June 30, 2022. Should that actually be 2024?
So we are using last year's resolution.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, we need to
Let's see
update that date. Yeah, that would be 2024, guys.
2024, or
Years are
like it wouldn't be this June 23, it'd be 24.
ending June 2024, so it's for this coming
Okay,
fiscal year.
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
I'm worried that last year's resolution had the wrong date.
2023. Whoops.
Who was on the committee last year?
I won't say.
It's fine, so doesn't catch that. I think we're okay. All right, I'll update that before it gets signed, and then I'll update it obviously for the assembly one as well.
Thank you.
Investments will be managed to go receive a return of 2% or more than the CPI for Anchorage, Alaska. I mean, that's a goal. It's a goal. It's a goal.
And that was put in there based upon the guidance and advice of a prior investment advisor. To say, hey, I'd like to know what my target is here.
Right. How have we been according,
That was a good
based on
question.
our
I was
goal?
anticipating that question. And I don't have a great answer for you right now. We still don't have our how we, our audited financial statements. And we don't have that number of what's 50% of the income last year.
Okay. But we'll have that soon.
Yeah, we will.
Good. Isn't that, it's due?
March 31st
Oh,
for the feds.
right.
Right.
We got
Yeah.
We're getting there.
And we'll talk about that too.
All right,
So do we have, we could start off with a motion for this resolution, and then we could have discussion.
Move to approve. Resolution FC 2101.
Second.
2301.
Yeah, 2201.
Thank you.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve Finance Committee Resolution 2301. Yeah, let's have discussion on it. You guys say-
Yeah, I support maintaining the investment allotment as outlined in the resolution. I know either a year ago, when the market was definitely tanking, that the percentage in equities was maybe too risky, just given the financial health of the market at that time. But as was pointed out then, and I would certainly support continuing, the 60-40 allocation percentage has worked well, has served the borough well over the long term, and really there's no need to fuss with that, as I say. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a pretty conservative allocation and actually follows mine personal allocations. And so I think it's a good idea.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That 40%
Yeah.
of fixed income does provide some good ballast
Yeah.
and
Well,
rocky.
we've had some
equity
rocky times, and last year it hasn't been so good, but
Mhm.
the future is up, looking up. I mean, you can just see over time.
Mhm.
yeah, that long-term graph, I think,
Just time.
is all,
Mhm. All right. Any more discussion? Ready for a vote on FC 2301, the allocation resolution? As it deals with money, should we do a roll call, or that's ordinances?
Yeah, it's just ordinances.
Okay.
Roll call.
All in favor, say aye.
I,
Right. Thank you. This will then go to the assembly. And the assembly will pass
again.
when we get to vote on it again, basically, is what happens. But it's good to have the committee and the recommendation from the committee. So thank you for that. And let's see here. Go. Next on our agenda, we have capital improvement projects for our consideration and for your input, for bouncing it off of the committee and asking for input ideas. And it won't be your last chance for input or ideas. For this will definitely go to the assembly. And this is an ordinance that does ride with the budget. So, you don't have anything actionable. You don't have any resolutions to this to the CIP, but the finance committee can be helpful in prioritizing projects, thinking about where the money's coming from for them. And I wish I was further along with, a number of projects right now personally, but one, I really haven't done new work on the CIP that'll be riding with the budget. That what you have in front of you is our current CIP. And boy, looking through this, which we will do, one takeaway is we're doing well. We're doing projects. We're moving things off the list. So let's start at the top. That Anderson School roof replacement project has been funded and approved by the state, and the project is complete and it's coming off the list, including the borough's 20% match is going to be conveyed to the district, who already paid for that project. So then we go to the next project on that list. Now, this is a district-wide generator project and switchgear replacement. We know that Tri-Valleys is the oldest and the hardest to find replacement parts for. And so we prioritize that one in terms of a capital request to the state of Alaska, which was well received last week down in Juneau. If there's any capital budget at all, but that is a question. And additionally on this project at the assembly level, we've talked about this project a number of times, and and I stated a goal of, if this isn't funded by the state of Alaska, we committed about half of the funding, which is like 127 of that. And we're not talking the $1 million project here. We're talking one generator, about a $250,000 project that we'd like to come at that. And then the next one down on the Tri-Valley School roof repair, that's the district's next big project. They are in the design phase on this project. And now that they have over $1 million back from the state, from the Anderson roof, they're in a financial position to move forward, which was their plan, project planning all along. And, when one project gets funded, they can then start in on the next one. So you could say that, these top projects are all in some way in progress, and one's completed already. So this part of our list, that's very much in concert with the school district, needs to stay in coordination, in alignment with the school district. And, we'll be consulting their list, which they update in September. So our timelines are a little off. They already did their new CIP in September, and it's not wildly different. But we'll use that as we craft this section of our CIP, the school district. And these are, as you know, the main buildings, the main facilities that we have ownership of. Right. So then we'll go to the next section of the CIP capital improvement program, which we simply call capital improvement because we plan to any funding from, let's pause on the funding piece. I think that is a helpful, it's a planning document, right? And it's helpful to see what we're planning on committing from the Major School Maintenance Reserve Fund. If each of these projects goes every year, which is ambitious and certainly not the way the state is funding major school maintenance right now. But we want to ensure that we have sufficient funds in our major school maintenance fund, right? So we're tracking that at the bottom here, and then we're going to do the same thing for capital improvements. That's a different fund account, the capital improvement fund. And so again, top project, it's in progress. It's already funded without $160,000 from the capital improvement fund. We were successful in obtaining about $160,000 in grant monies to carry out this project of the purchase and installation of new street signs in support of implementation of the new street addressing system. So that one is very much in progress, developing the RFP for that capital improvement now. And then the next couple ones, at Tri-Valley School parking and rec facilities, we've taken some planning, design measures, preliminary kind of scope, and want to continue kind of slowly with that project and identify potential funding sources. It's looking like a pretty expensive project, and we'd probably be going out for grant funding for it. And the recycling and storage building, that one we brought to Juneau as well. And here we said we were going to do the design work. And then the municipal building, so that's been on this list for a lot of years, and that's one that we haven't made progress on. And I think in some ways it hasn't always been a priority. It hasn't always been at the top of the list. Here it is on the bottom of the list, and at the same time, we do have a plan for some contributions towards planning for a future municipal building. So that's this current year's list. And, we want to solicit input and even interest in potential projects as projects do move off the list, right? And we have the funding component here where we were taking it pretty slow and easy with our limited capital improvement funding. We don't have as much in that fund as we do in the major school maintenance fund, but we can do some things, especially as it relates to planning and engineering and being ready for potential grant submissions. Again, no action on that one, but open to discussion, certainly.
And so the idea is that like with having the design stuff done, then we'd be prepared to, if any grant money comes, to make use of it right away.
You could have a more competitive application, definitely. Sometimes you do have to do that legwork,
Ahead of time.
to be ready, to have a shovel-ready project.
Right.
For example, that Tri-Valley North project, we'll call it, is definitely not shovel-ready. We haven't taken it to the public, or it's got a ways to go.
Well, no surprises on the project list. I think those are all we're somewhat familiar with. They've been presented, discussed in previous meetings. So from that standpoint, no surprises. Can't think of any new projects to potentially add to the list. I'll take a little bit more thought, but definitely if that is the direction we're going as far as looking to identify new projects, then we should make that a priority to look at what those projects might look like and at least get them up for discussion.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Dominic.
You have to think about.
We would like to improve our process on this one, frankly, and taking it to this committee is an improvement on the process. But I think there's still more room. Fairbanks North Star Borough does have a committed funding to a capital fund that they do, routinely utilize, and they did a redo of their capital CIP approach a couple years ago, and they went to a 2-year system that I kind of like, where you don't necessarily have to do it every year. You do a 2-year plan, and you have a little more robust public process to arrive at that 2-year plan, which includes soliciting nominations for projects, which we haven't ever done in any formal way.
Yeah, which would be a nice, I could see like going out to the public and actually saying,
Yeah,
what do you want?
what are your guys' ideas? Right.
I'm sure there are ideas, ideas out there that we have no idea.
We've asked the school kids through various class. Mrs. Newton's class regularly asks, and pool is number one. Pool's number one.
Pool's a good one.
Yeah. But we could ask more broadly than the 5th grade class.
Right.
Yeah.
And how do we go about soliciting this information? Well, I guess we have just like the
housing. Yeah.
thing and the housing
Yeah.
thing. I mean, that might be a good avenue to go.
Yeah, I think it's worth consideration, and I think our budget timeline is gonna be such that we won't have time to implement
This
a
time.
new
Yeah, this
robust
year.
Right.
Yeah.
program. But I think it's really
Right.
something we should be considering.
It'd be good to
For a
work on
following
the next
year.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because as we still have plenty of projects here to keep us busy.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yep,
but it, yeah, I could see how like the public input would be good. To get more than something, yeah. More flashier than a new roof or whatever it is. More fun.
So the
storage,
generators aren't-
storage of used oils. What's more exciting than storage?
It's not a pool.
Yeah. All right, and just so you know, in terms of background, our lists years ago were all schools.
Mhm.
That blue part of that list that you saw, is kind of newer.
Okay,
Doesn't mean it wasn't around, it's just, we put it into this.
Yeah. Yeah. So. Shall we move into the next? We're getting there. The next item we had listed as an agenda item, is budget considerations. And on this front, I want to share, something that I heard a lot down in Juneau from other municipalities. And that is, we're not alone in having our audit come in later than we've had it come in the past and later than we'd like it to. I heard from quite a few who said, we don't have our audit yet. And for so many, and in a lot of industries, it's staffing, right? And our longtime auditor did retire. We got new folks working on it, and it's taken longer. For us, though, since we're forward funded, we do have numbers in that audit that we use for this budget cycle. So we're gonna get it. We need it. And it's gonna come by that March 31st federal deadline, and we're going to be able to plug in those numbers that we use to even just determining the shape of our new budget, the forward funding requirement number. We need those,
right.
we need those numbers from the audit. So
And are the other municipalities, it's a personnel problem that they're having problems with getting their audit done?
that's what I was hearing.
Some of that, but then the other thing that they were saying is because of all the federal money that has been going through the system, people have hit their max, so that's that much more work to be able to meet the federal requirements is what a few of them
More
were
work,
saying.
more complicated,
Well,
So,
it's essentially two audits.
Yeah.
Because you have to do your
You got it.
regular one and a federal one.
and the federal one.
so it's backlogged everything. So then that created the staffing shortage because everybody was getting that CARES money and all the other federal money.
Mhm.
That is what most of them were saying. So.
Good problem to have.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it just kind of hit the wall and everybody got backlogged because it wasn't one company, it was all the companies. I mean, it was over half of the municipalities were having it from
Huh.
people I was talking to. It wasn't just this one company was doing it. It's not
Right.
that all these staff members all of a sudden had to do all this federal second audit, and a lot of them weren't up to speed on it. Because from what I gathered is there was usually one specialized person for that. Everybody had to do it.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. Everybody needed that federal single audit. as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, so for what I've got for this agenda item, budget considerations is patience. That's our consideration. But yeah, we'd like to bring out that amendment first and have it staggered with have it be introduced first and then the next fiscal year 24 come after that. But there's no requirement for that. We're gonna lump them together and get them to you in April. But so April will be, kind of heavier. But so yeah, patience is the consideration we ask for, I guess.
So just a question, point of clarification, the budget amendment for FY 23 and then the proposed FY 24 budget, those documents don't flow through the finance committee, right? They go straight to the assembly for review, consideration and approval.
That's how we've worked it. Yeah, the finance committee has not necessarily been a budget committee, right?
Mhm.
It looking more at investments and other kind of ad hoc or special projects that relate to finance. But it hasn't really served as a budget committee. And the assembly as a whole looks at all those grant applications and serves as the
Right.
committee. And that is a fair portion of the budget. And that'll be coming later as well.
Yeah. So if the finance committee were to function as a quasi budget committee as well, that would just delay the process, right? Just having another layer of review would potentially delay passing those budgets in a timely manner. Is that fair to say?
It certainly would this year.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's fair to say that it's good to go over the whole budget, with the whole assembly. And that's just the way we've always
Right.
done it.
Okay. No, thanks for clarifying that.
Yep. Yeah, some municipalities that are bigger and do have separate budget committees. It's true, but we never really have. So
However,
however,
we were just talking about scheduling a meeting. And so I'll let Peg continue, but part of the next meeting was to use you guys almost as a guinea pig to preview, because we're going to throw both budgets at the assembly at the same time to kind of preview and almost forecast what questions might come up when you're considering both at the same meeting. It's easy to kind of confuse or transpose some numbers in your brain. So we were looking providing a draft to you guys to kind of help the administration, and Clay in particular, kind of forecast what those questions are, what the gaps are, things that we need to be ready to, explain to the rest of the assembly.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that makes sense.
thanks, Amber.
That's okay. You can't remember everything we're talking about today. It was only a half hour ago.
Right. That's next on my list here. All right, budget considerations. And any more discussion on that topic? Because we might talk about it a little bit when we talk about next meetings. We're going to move into the next thing. We have committee comments and then report to the assembly, and then we want to talk about the next meeting. So we'll start with committee comments.
I'll start. Thanks for everybody coming. This is a pretty big thing to have this committee. I know we don't do much with the budget, but there's the time that I've been on here, just being able to look at the investments and see where we're at, and then being able to report has saved a lot of time in our assembly meetings, just because our investment advisor didn't need to be on the call for that, but we could explain what's going on. And then just being able to one of the other big things that we looked at was getting our new D8. Something that was one of our first big finance committee that we looked at to send to the assembly is like, yeah, this is a pretty good deal. Let's get it done type thing. And that was right before COVID hit. But yeah, just being able to have the sounding board, just like what we're going to do with the budget at our next meeting, helps to just for the lack of the whole idea to shorten up our meetings at the assembly meetings. That way, yeah, and then also we can be answering questions because we've already talked about it. So they're not everybody's asking the same questions over and over again. We've already been there. We've talked about it. So they're able to say, okay, we've had this committee. We trust the committee. And if we have questions, the committee will be able to answer it. And just kind of like what Amber was saying, that way the mayor's also ready to answer the questions, and we're not having to take another meeting beyond that to do it. We're doing it here. So the very vital role that we're playing here. And thank you guys for wanting to serve on it. It's we don't meet often, but when we do meet, it really helps the staff here to be able to find those gaps, like she was saying, and fill it in instead of at a assembly meeting where we're trying to get a whole bunch of stuff done. It's like, hold on, let me go try to figure this out and do a whole bunch of switching and stuff. So yeah, that's all I have.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I'll go next. Not too many, really no further comments from what I've already brought up. But again, thanks everybody for attending. Glad to see new faces. We have an expanded committee from what it's been at least the last couple of years. So welcome to Dave and to Richard. Look forward to working with you guys. And Talon too, as we elect our chair next meeting. That's all I have.
Yeah, I'm glad to be on the committee. It's always, meetings are fun and you learn a lot.
Yeah.
It's good. And I hope to be able to contribute.
Nice.
I guess that's down to me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll wait until last year. No, it's good to be the new guy and, kind of pick up what's going on and get a little more in depth of what gets presented to the assembly. But I love the transparency. It's just I've been really impressed with the assembly, and this thus far I don't have to guess at things. I can actually look at something and go, hey, yeah, that makes sense. I think it's great. So yeah, good to be here, and I hope I'm helpful to y'all. I'll try.
Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. And yeah, thanks for that on the transparency front. If you ever have any questions, just pick up the phone and call, or shoot a text or email. Yeah, we do try our best to be transparent with everything. We're a public organization, and even things like investment statements, put it up there out on YouTube.
Right.
It's public information. Yeah. So yeah, and yeah, my apologies that the next meeting does fall in a way that we can, not slow down the budget process and review what we've got. Because we're looking at next meeting being April 5th. And we could do a budget kind of update with what we're looking at there at that time, but also another item and another reason to have another meeting like within 5 months is there's another function of the finance committee, another function that isn't annual like the allocation for the permanent fund, but is actually every 3 years. And every 3 years, the assembly as a whole needs to set through ordinance, and that ordinance is typically the budget ordinance. The salary of the mayor. And it's only effective upon election, upon the next regular election. So to include it in this year's budget, we are going to elect a new mayor next November. And to include that every 3-year change in salary that the assembly sets, we need to get after that. And we have, the finance committee has served in that role, like I said, kind of ad hoc, a kind of project-based items, and one is setting the mayor's salary. The finance committee has helped with that and made a recommendation to the assembly, who enacts it through ordinance. So that's kind of what we've got for the next meeting in terms of the agenda: mayor's salary for the following 3 years and budget update.
Okay.
Sound good?
Nominations.
And nomination.
Oh, and then electing the chair, right? And we have a proposed date we'd like you to consider for that, and that's the Wednesday before the next assembly meeting. It's April 5th, Wednesday, April 5th. Not the next assembly member, the April assembly meeting, I should say. Next one's next.
Right now, I don't see conflicts, so we'll be able to review budget documents in advance. Will they be ready to look at before we actually meet?
It's close to
We'll do
March
our best.
31st.
Yeah.
We will have it. We will have it by then, and we'll get it as far in advance of the April 5th meeting as possible.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Good. So we've set that. We don't need a motion for that, right? We just,
No,
yeah,
that works for everybody.
works for everybody, April 5th. All right. Well, thanks for the meeting. Thanks for coming together. Thanks for serving our new finance committee members. And the next thing on our agenda is adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Everybody's jumping on that one.
Right.
Anybody opposed? Seeing none, this motion, this.
All right. All right. Thanks, everybody. Good job. Mr.
Night,
Mayor.
and good luck with the water there, Richard, and let us know
Well, yeah.
if help.
Oh, boy.
Yeah,
What is the latest with that?
it's actually, it's at the school and it's the water rather than the sewer.
So it's finally just caught up and froze there.
We could
No,
close the meeting and then chat online if. Should we
yeah.
go ahead and adjourn the meeting for